What's up? This is Ekaraj from Back to Godhead, and you're listening to the Coffee and Hardcore podcast. These guys know a ton about hardcore, especially the Hardcore Encyclopedia. But like me, they don't know jack shit about coffee. Except that Jacob guy. He knows his stuff. Alright, guys, you've been warned. Peace.
Here we are. It's a brand new episode of the Coffee and Hardcore podcast. I am here with the one and only Wiley Willis.
Yo, yo, yo.
And Jacob Oakencrow.
Hello.
And this is episode 666 of season 5. The reason why it's episode 666 is because of the guests that we have on this show. And we're calling this episode Jacob Got Ringworm at Bryan Gray's House with the Human Furnace because we have James, aka Human Furnace of Ringworm, on the show, and Jacob actually got ringworm at Bryan Gray's house, so we fused the two together. That's the title of the show.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Greatest title of a Coffee and Hardcore episode ever, in my opinion.
Yeah, I love it. So speaking of ringworm, I've been looking up skin, I guess diseases or ailments or whatever. I don't know. What do you call it? Like,
skin disease?
There? Skin, sure. I think I said that.
Okay.
But so I've been uncontrollably itching lately.
Oh God.
And it's been freaking me out. So I'll get like an itch on my leg and I'll start itching. And if I itch it, it gets worse and then bumps appear.
And
And
you're scratching it. You're not itching it. You're scratching it.
so I started freaking out because 2 nights ago, I was at work and my chest started itching and I scratched it. Dude, I ended up shirtless with a ruler going like this up and down my chest and my back. And it wouldn't stop. Yeah, it was freaking me out. It was going on for like 25 minutes. I don't go to the hospital for anything. I was about to put my shirt on, jump in a car and go to the hospital. It was so bad. It was like burning and
Did you get scabies?
my chest and back were on fire. No, so I thought that. I had a friend who had scabies. I got a hold of him. And he's like, do you have like bumps? On,
He's
like,
are you a crusty? And you're like, no.
no, he got it at
Scabies.
Japuza. Because there's this thing called the Deeks pile, and it's where people
could be scabies at Japuza.
it's where people put all their old clothes. And what happened was a homeless guy took off his jacket, threw it in the pile, and took another jacket. And my buddy Josh was like, hey, that's a cool jacket. Put it on, got scabies.
Oh gosh.
Ew.
But anyways, it's not scabies. So I was freaking out. I brought it up to Libby, and she's like, well, it seems like you haven't gotten allergies this year. Maybe your allergies have sort of like changed and it's like an allergic reaction thing. And I was like, I don't know. She's like, have you been taking your Allegra? And I was like, no. So I've been taking it the last 2 days. No itching.
What's Allegra?
It's like Benadryl.
It's like my allergy medicine. So basically the very first date that Libby and I went on, we went to go see one of my friends' bands play at Liars Club. And I had a sneeze fit. I think I probably sneezed like 50 times. And I had to go to, I couldn't stop sneezing. And it was like freaking me out. So I had to go
You're a
to,
cat.
what?
So you're a cat.
I-
Sorry, my cats like do sneezing fits. Anyway.
Yeah. I know what you mean. So it seems like my allergies take on this like weird mind of their own since my 30s. And this year it decided to surprise me with itching. So my point is I was looking up these things and I saw ringworm and I was like, holy cow, this looks brutal. So naming your band Ringworm after having my skin fire itch is even more brutal to me now. That was my point. Sorry.
That was your point. No, that's a good point.
So I have to say, you didn't have ringworm.
Correct.
So suck it up, bitch.
Damn. I had ringworm when I was a kid once, so
There it is. I did
There
when
it
I was a
is.
kid too, also, I think. It's like the little ring,
yeah,
like
ring-
the circles
round
on
thing.
your.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
I
all
had it on my
kids had
ankle.
it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, after having it at Bryan Gray's house, I had it and I patched it up, and I was dating somebody, and she's like, I don't understand what it is. And she's like, she went to touch it, and I was like, no, don't. And then she put her hand on it and then got ringworm. And I was like, there you go. There you go. Thanks.
It's
Oh,
very
it's that contagious, eh?
yeah, it's very
Oh, it
contagious.
is so bad. Brian
Yeah.
Gray got it on his face.
Yeah.
Like it was a brutal.
It's not actually a parasite, though, is it?
I don't know. All I know is it's very contagious, much like the riffs in the new Ringworm album. Ba-doom, boom, like that.
Oh, we went there. Well, hey, let's get into it anyways, because we got a long episode for y'all.
Yeah. Let's drop in.
Sorry, I just had to tell my
cut
dumb
a lot
itchy,
of this out.
my dumb itchy story.
No, it's a good story. It fits.
Cut
with Steve.
everything out that I'm in. Okay, bye.
It's also very nice to see your face in this. So
Thanks, big jerk.
Hey, Jacob.
yes, sir.
We have the privilege to have on this episode the one and only James from Ringworm. Welcome, sir.
Hello. How are you?
Good. Stoked to have you on tonight.
Yeah. I'm happy to be here.
So, Jacob, I know you got questions. What's your questions, man?
So my first question that comes from a longtime brother and friend, Mucus cirrhosis.
Is he in Guar?
Uh,
That sounds like a new Guar guy.
oh no, it could have been. So I was introduced to him as Mucus Cirrhosis from the band Cirrhosis, and I ended up being one of the vocalists for Cirrhosis for a while, and it lived up to what it was. They were influenced by Death and At the Gates, and it was just grimy, drunken death metal. And there was one point, since I was a new guy and I come from a crust punk background, I said something about them being crusty, and I got the wrath of hellfire. They're like, we're not crust punks, we're metalheads. And I was like, all right, but you're dirtier than any crusties I've ever lived with, squatting in bridges and, weird shit. But
So what was your name in that band?
Oh yeah.
Jake.
What?
Really? Wait, come on
You
now.
you didn't have a fucking cool name?
No, nobody in the band except for Marcus just had a name. Like he just went by Mucus. That was just his name around town. And no, everybody else just, went by their Christian birth names. So
Well,
but-
what is Mucus's question?
So he wanted to know why the name Ringworm, and then he wanted me to tell you the story about how I got Ringworm at one point.
Oh, well, there's not really much to be said about it. When we first got together to jam a couple tunes, me and Frank were in a band before we started Ringworm called Force of Habit. And it was like a straight edge band, kind of. I wasn't ever straight edge. Like he had a band going before I joined it. We were friends, but I wasn't in his band. And they had a singer that didn't really want to do anything. Like maybe he was mic shy, but he would much rather play Tecmo Bowl during practices and not sing. So he got kind of fed up with him. So he asked me to sing. And I'm like, okay, I could fucking scream and yell. It's no problem. So we did that. That band, long story short, that band wasn't what we wanted to do. We started Ringworm. So he wrote he wrote one song. We got to practice to put a new band together, new bass player, new drummer, and recorded a song. And then after we kind of got the song done, which was Blind to Faith, first song we ever did. And then we're like, okay, I guess we're a band. And I don't know who said it, like we got a name. And then I'm a huge Vincent Price fan.
Sure.
Just always like horror movies, all that shit, always have been. I'm a video store kid, you know, grew up on mom and pop video stores and the VHS era of fucking horror movies.
Just
Anyways,
going in, picking up, looking at the cover, reading the back.
Oh yeah, the best, you know, and you kind of hang out and you could kind of look through the swinging doors into the porn section too, if you're clever enough. But yeah, I just seen there's a Vincent Price movie called The Conqueror Worm or The Witchfinder General, is different names for it. Love the fucking movie. Vincent Price is particularly vicious in it. But I wanted to say Conqueror Worm, and as I was saying it, it just sounded too hard to say. It sounded like a mouthful, you know, it didn't fucking roll off the tongue real well. And I just said, I don't know, how about ringworm? And for no reason whatsoever, everyone's like, okay, fine. And that's it. That's the answer.
Works.
Yeah. And I mean, granted, I was saying earlier before we started recording, I don't think it's a great name. I mean, you know, nobody likes wearing shirts that say ringworm on them, and girls don't like wearing shirts that say ringworm on them. You know, it's not a very fashion friendly name, but it's not a great name. But again, we didn't think we'd be doing this for 35 years. You know, you don't think that much of it. So,
you know, a lot of bands didn't. I'm sure Rancid didn't either.
right.
But so
well, there was really no thought of like, it might have been something different had I taken 1 second to think about like
longevity.
Yeah, or maybe the branding possibilities of it, or the
Sure.
marketing possibilities of a name. Like, does it sound cool? I didn't even think of it.
No.
And I just said it, and we all just said okay, because at the time, none of us really had inspirations of, you know, it was different back then. It's like you weren't going to be a huge band. You were just going to be in a punk rock band and make some noise. And we're like, okay, that sounds pretty gross and nasty. And that's what we are. So it just.
Right. Maybe put out a 7-inch at some point.
Yeah. I mean, you know, we liked the music that we were making. So we did have some ambitions. We thought we were good, but we didn't, you know, at the time you were talking 1990, 1989, 90.
Right.
You know, bands just, there was very few bands like becoming a big band, like, you know, like Youth of Today or something like that, you know, just didn't seem like it was attainable for a bunch of poor fucking suburban kids that had to bum money for 40 ounces, you know?
Right.
So we didn't put much thought into the name, and that was our name.
So he also wanted me to let you know, because I told him the story, but Brian Gray, Mick, who you know, I've been friends with his family for a long time. And when he and I started playing together, there was one time that I stayed over at his house, and there were some other details that I won't give online, but it had to do with his father being a little upset with me. But I woke up the next morning and I had ringworm. Because they had some indoor-outdoor cats. And, you know, I got it on my arm. I think my arm, my leg. And he got it on his face. And somebody that I was dating at the time, I told her what it was. And she's like, oh. And she went to touch it. And I was like, don't. And she put her finger on it and she fucking got it. And I was like, I told you, don't fucking touch that.
Oddly enough, I've never had it. So, yeah, I don't know.
So there it is. Thanks for letting Marcus know. And
yeah.
And yeah, I've actually had more of an experience with ringworm than ringworm. But
right.
Yeah.
The skin fungus, not the band.
Yeah.
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 Fuck, I still haven't seen you guys live. The only show that I've ever seen in Cleveland, I think I told you about this while ago. I went to see The Business,
Yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
I forgot who else was playing. And it was mid 90s, and I was actually practicing with Brian Gray again. And somebody that we were sitting with, a woman that I didn't know, was like, "Hey, I have a couple tickets to see The Business. Who wants to go?" And we were in Illyria, I think. And everybody looked at me. They're like, "He wants to see The Business." And she was like, "All right, let's go." And we went to the show, and the opening band just didn't show up or something. It might have been oh, I can't remember the name of the band. They were kind of an Acme Ascension. It was Ascension. So we went to Ascension's apartment before that, and we were hanging out with them, and then they never showed up to the show. It was something weird like that.
That's such an odd bill.
Yeah, they don't work together really well. And then,
But
so we waited, and then somebody came out and they're like, "Hey, The Business isn't ready to come out. They're not drunk enough." And then they finally came out with like 6 packs of Guinness in their hands, and they did The Business. Like it was one of the best shows. And I was still, in my baggy skater kind of gear. And while I'm jumping around to The Business, this huge skinhead comes up next to me and just kind of looks at me sideways. And I was like, "Fuck, this is going to get weird. I'm in a different town." And he puts his arm around me and starts pogoing. And I was like, "Okay, everything is good. This is
that's
great."
awesome. Do you remember where that show was at?
I don't remember the venue, but I do remember that they did their cover of Crass Owe Us a Living. And it was awesome. So the show ended, and it was great. And me and my new friend were like, "Oh my God, this is awesome." And then we hear a bunch of yelling, and we look towards the back of the venue, and we didn't realize, but there are a bunch of neo-Nazis in the back of the venue. And then there was some arguing right in front of us, and this guy yelling at this woman punches her in the face, and the entire place erupts in a riot. And she looks at me, she's like, "You want to go?" And we ran. So that was my first experience at a show in Cleveland in the 90s.
Yeah, if that time circa, there was a lot of like, there was your good skins and your bad skins. There was
Right.
and they all showed up at every show. You know what I mean? There was always some type of friction going on. And then you had your kind of hardcore kids that would get in the mix. So that was a weird time back then. I mean, yeah, there was always something popping off like that.
I think there was probably only one show that I ever went to in Cleveland that didn't end in some sort of fight or riot.
Yeah, could be
in the 90s, definitely. At least every show that I played at ended up like that.
Wait.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Back early days like that, that whole scene pride thing was a thing. You know what I mean? As far as in the hardcore world too.
Yeah.
And one way to get your scene on the map is to get it known as like a violent scene. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
You hear, like, "Oh man, I hear that scene's fucking crazy." You know what I mean? It's one way to kind of get your scene on the map. But
yeah,
but Jacob, to your point, we have played outside of Cleveland for about 30 years. Over 30 years. So I mean, you've probably had ample opportunities to maybe catch one of our...
I moved around a lot, and for some reason, I never got to see you guys. I was never in the same town when you guys were playing. And
we used to get a bad rep for some reason. Well, I know the reason. Like, when I talk about like, I run into old timers, and they'd be like, "Yeah, I went to see you guys, but you canceled and all this shit. You always canceled shows." And it's like, we never canceled shows, because back then there was no internet. You get a phone call from somebody,
right?
Hey, I'm putting a show on. Do you guys want to play it? And we're like, "Okay, well, maybe. How much we get? Oh, I'll get back to you." And before you even tell them you can or can't do it, they already make a flyer with your name on
Right.
it.
And
then
this was
everyone
before
sees the
Booker.
flyer and assumes that you were going to do it. And when you don't show up, they're like, "Oh, you guys canceled." Like, we never said we were going to fucking do it. This dude just put us on a flyer.
Right. This was before book your own fucking tour also.
Well, this was, but yeah, I mean, everything was done by phone and phone cards, and hell,
Yeah.
sometimes letters. I mean, we'd fucking write letters.
Yep. I remember that. Yeah.
It was just, in a way, it was a lot cooler. I mean, just because you had to actually, I don't know, you had to work a little bit harder, but I mean,
yeah, but at least you get paid now. Like, it was kind of like, when you
right.
Really?
well, okay. But I mean, we've all done things like, do you remember like going in the back of Maximum Rock and Roll and buying albums?
That's where, yes, of course. That's where we first ran an ad for our first demo in Maximum Rock and Roll for $4. Here's a quick little.
Nice.
Want to hear a good story?
Of course.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I've told this story. I've told this story before, but it bears repeating because it's actually pretty humorous. We wrote. We had one song and the skeletons for another 4. This is for our first demo in '91. So that's when it came out anyway. So I think it must have been around 1990, like that, something around there.
You're going to send us a couple of those, right?
We started to advertise for the said demo before it was even done, so we can get the money to record this demo.
Nice.
I mean, hey, we had to figure out how to fund this thing, right? So we ran an ad in the back of Maximum Rock and Roll, Ringworm, Hardcore Grind, whatever, I can't remember the description. I know it was like Hardcore Grind, something like that, and $4. You know what I mean? So the first person who ordered it for $4 was from our own hometown, right from Parma. We were kind of suburbs, from Cleveland, and we kind of knew him. But he's like, "Yeah, sounds really good. Send me the demo," And of course, we took that money and spent it on beer right away. We got fucking
all $4.
Yeah. Oh shit! Back then,
so you bought
like four.
You bought 2 40s and split it.
You could get 4 40s for $4. That shit was 99 cents. We got the good stuff. But at any rate, when we started putting this band together, we needed a bass player, and it turns out that Chris Pello, who the dude who ordered it, ended up showing up for the rehearsal to try out for bass. And he's like, "All right, cool." He's like, "Cool." He's like, "Well," he goes, "Well, we learned the one song because that's all we had." And he's like, "So what about the other songs? Because it's a 5-song demo." We like, "Oh yeah, about that. Like, we don't have any other songs. You're going to play on them." So he ended up playing on the songs that he wrote. He's like, "You got to get my money back?" We're like, "Yeah, right. You ain't get shit back, dude."
You didn't give him his $4?
No, fuck no. It's $4, man. Come on, you're in the band now. It's cool.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that
so he ended up
one of the best stories I've heard.
Yeah, it was pretty funny, man. So we're like, well, that's how we kind of had to, because I remember going to, I think it was 1991. I went to, I think it was either the first or the second Milwaukee Metal Fest, and passing out little Xerox fucking ads for our demo and shit like that. But yeah, he saw our ad in the back of Maximum Rock and Roll. That's how he got a hold of us. So it was pretty funny. Yeah, he thought.
How long did he stay with you guys? Is he still with you?
Chris? No, Chris has been gone for a long time. He played on the demo, and he played on the Promise. Chris Pello went on. He still plays a little bit. He's a Parma guy, so he's kind of like, he played in the Darvasets and all these kind of like punk bands in the 90s and early 2000s and stuff. I still see him every so often. He's still doing his thing, but yeah, he hasn't been in Ringworm in quite a long time. We did some reunion shows that he came and joined us on stage and played the set with us, like the early stuff.
The Promise?
Yeah.
It's fucking brutal. I can't think of any album. I've been a big fan of all your albums, and no matter like how long it takes for each one to come out, they're fucking brutal. And I'm a New York guy, and I love New York hardcore, but dude, Ringworm is it holds a place in my heart. Like I listen to it and I want to walk out and like smack my mom.
That's the intention, I guess. Yeah, actually, like when that's kind of how we actually, like when the first demo came out, a lot of New York guys, a couple of New York guys got a hold of it, and they did us a great service by like it kind of caught on with them, and they started passing it around, tape trading and stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of New York guys really got hip to it and stuff like that. So that kind of helped us out in the early days, you know, like as far as getting the music out there.
Like in the early days in New York, like we didn't have a lot of I don't know, the metallic stuffs rubbed people the wrong way. And I'm not from New York City, so I don't want to talk for them. But, you know, being 16 in 88, like I was and I lived upstate, so I was trying to be in touch with what was going on in the city. And but you know, I had mostly Crucial Chaos, the radio station with Spermicide and Johnny, what's his name? And I feel disrespectful saying Johnny, what's his name? I can't remember. But that's where I got like Cro-Mags and Youth of Today and Pagan Babies and you know all those bands. Like that's where I learned about all that stuff.
That's cool.
And, but the thing is, like, it was so different. Like at one point, like Cro-Mags, there was this woman that. So I was living upstate New York, and there were these two girls with a horse going up my street, like up the hill, holding a tail with a skateboard, and just going up to a like through the neighborhood that I didn't know like where the rest of it went. And I was like, hey, and I pulled her aside. I was like, hey, so I have ramps in my garage and we're skaters. This was 1983, 84 or something like that. And I was like, so what's up? And her name was Gina Latessa, and she was one of the original percussionists for what's that satanic ska band? Mephistopheles.
Oh yeah? No
and,
shit.
She gave me the original demo for Cro-Mags before Age of Quarrel came out.
Oh yeah.
And she was friends with all these people, and her dad, he was a music writer or like screen guy that just happened to have a place upstate New York. And she introduced me to all this stuff, like, you know, new Underdog stuff, like when Underdog was still like, you know, underground. I was like, oh my God. And we didn't have access to any of that.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
That's kind of how you had to do it back then, man. Just fucking, yeah, like, yeah.
It was, but then Ringworm fucking changed some things like that because you got that metallic.
Well, you know what? I remember we did a this was fucking decades ago, but we did a little tour with Marauder, and we went out with Scarhead at one point. But when we were out with Marauder, Jorge was just telling me stories about, you know, the old days or whatever, and it was Boston Mike, who I don't know if you guys know who Boston Mike was, but he got a hold of the demo, and was just telling everybody, man, you gotta listen to this. You gotta listen to this shit. You know, these are some hillbillies from fucking Cleveland. You know, and that's kind of how it got around a little bit out there, and that's kind of, you know.
Oh, that's awesome.
Then that's how it was. Tape trading, radio, college radio, tape trading, fucking.
Backs of magazines, writing letters to people,
writing letters. Yeah, I still got a bunch of letters. I keep them. I have a bag of fucking letters from back in the day. It's pretty cool, you know. But yeah, man, that's kind of what you had to do.
So it's like so you guys technically 35 years, right?
Yeah, I
Close to?
mean, the demo came out in '91, so if you start from where it came out, getting pretty close. But I mean, we were together before that, trying to figure out what the fuck we were
Right.
gonna do. So yeah, probably around late '89 into the '90s, we were trying to figure out how to get some money to record stuff,
Right.
and then two, getting it recorded, and then finding more money to put it out, and we did put it out, and then we ended up getting hooked up with Ron Overkill from Seattle, who was in that band. He was in a band called Brotherhood,
Okay.
hardcore band.
yeah,
Yeah. And Integrity had known him, and they were like, you should distribute this demo for them, and he distributed the demo, and that's when things really that demo kind of got in a lot of people's ears, and that kind of propelled us a little bit until we got a record deal with another guy out in Seattle, this cat named Bill Baker, he was just starting a label, which was Incision Records, and he offered to put out The Promise for us. Now that didn't go that well as far as its reach or its distribution and how that whole business deal went down, but he got the record out, and that's where it all started.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Seeing Through Fire is the latest release.
Yes, sir.
What number is that? I know you guys have done like 10 plus. Like, is
Well, I mean, full lengths, I think it's number 9 or 10.
that right?
And then we got a million splits and comps
Right.
and all that jazz. But yeah, I think it's record number 9, I think, or maybe it's
Wow.
10, something like that. You lose track,
Right.
you know.
So this is a question I was going to ask. How different is it? Maybe not from the very beginning when you started, but recording now and putting songs together. What's it like doing it now in 2023, 2024
Well,
compared to?
it's a little more streamlined because one, we're older and we all got other responsibilities, but we used to, back in the day there, I mean, we don't really practice anymore.
Yeah.
Matt, our guitar player, he's been with us since the second record, really. He basically, and this is kind of how it's worked since the beginning, like the music comes first.
Yeah.
And then once the music's done, I do my stuff to it. So I'm not really part of the songwriting process. I mean, if I can hear some songs before they're done, sometimes I'll hear it and I'll be like, could maybe play this part 2 more times. I got an idea, or I suggest something here and there, but I don't have much to do with the songwriting process for that part. And that really hasn't changed too much, but now it's just a little more streamlined. Matt will write some stuff, record it on his phone or whatever, how he does it, send it over to our drummer. They'll learn it. He'll learn it. They'll get together, jam it, do some like recordings on their phone or whatever they got, send it over to me. And then I start thinking about it, thinking about it. And then maybe we'll get a practice in. But for the most part, nobody in the band will hear any of the songs with lyrics until they're done.
Wow.
Because, they would go record it. And then once I have like a really good version of the songs and I could hear all the little fine little bells and whistles in there, because I like to write to a finished,
right.
Like there's little things that I like to throw in there. But yeah, and then I go in there and I'll just start knocking off songs, and they're like, "Oh, did you do another one today?" I did. I'm like, "Yeah, I did 3 songs today." Like, really? And then I send that to everybody and like, cool. And that's the first time they've ever heard them, And a lot of the songs, even going back to whenever, they're songs that I've never really sang. I've only done them in the studio. We've never done them live. So
Really?
yeah, we just it's like like most bands, when you do a record, unless it's your first record or your second, or maybe your third, you don't really learn the whole record because you can't play it. And at this stage, we've got 9, 10 releases, whatever.
Right.
Our set list becomes problematic sometimes because there's songs that you gotta play and songs you want to play, and of course you want to play some new stuff because you like your new stuff. And finding a spot for we try to work in some triggers here and there, but finding a spot in your set list and when you get 45 minutes to an hour at max, it's hard to fucking,
right.
do some of those songs that you've never done. I try to, and plus being the singer, I could do anything, but for the rest of the band, they've got to learn all this new material and stuff like that. So it's not always that easy, but
it's kind of crazy. I've heard interviews with bands, names I won't mention, but when they have new members in, they don't do set lists, and like the crowd will like yell songs. And
well, yeah,
like,
that's
"We're
like
gonna do
that's like
this one."
Hatebreed. I know Hatebreed.
That's exactly who I was gonna say.
Yeah, I mean,
but I
like
didn't want to say.
Frank's still one of my best friends ever. I mean, me and been friends since fucking middle school, and they do the work. You know what I mean? Like they have to know right at the drop of a hat 60 songs. If out of 60 songs, so Jamie will just call out a song and like there they go.
It's funny that you pulled that out because that's exactly who I was talking about.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
I just didn't want to say it.
I mean, that's impressive. I mean, you got to do the work, you know what I mean? And they have a huge catalog too. And it's cool that I like bands that can pull that shit out. They just be like, okay, let's do it. Ready? 1, 2, 3, let's hit it, and just kind of,
Yeah,
pull those
intense.
old gems out of their hat, fans like that. We try to do that as much as we can.
So how different is it now too? Like as far as playing shows? I mean, you guys get you're 3 decades deep, so I imagine it's a little different now than it was.
Well, I mean,
even 10.
I guess. I mean, I guess it depends on what standpoint you're like. What you're like are crowds any different? Yeah, I mean the crowds, are our core fans. I guess you could say they're our age.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's a lot of these people that grew up listening to us. Sometimes they just can't come out to shows anymore. Like I got a babysitter, I got to work tomorrow. I got my mother-in-law wants me to fucking clean her gutters. Shit like that.
Right.
So there's grown-up responsibility. So a lot of our core old fans that still like the band just can't get out to shows anymore. And that's just life. So, but we do get. There's a whole new generation. It's changed over 3 times already. I mean, we have people at our shows that are like, my grandfather showed me your band. It's like, this is fucking nuts.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you remember playing shows and like one of your friends has a kid and it's adorable. You're young and like, wow, one of your friends is having a kid and they bring their kid to the show and they got them on their shoulders and they got the headset on and like, oh, it's cool. They're standing in the back. You're like, that kid's rad. Well, fast forward, that kid's coming to your shows, and you're like, oh, it's like, yeah, I came out your show and I was like fucking 3 years old. And you're like, wow. And then like fast forward another fucking 17 years, that kid that was on that kid's shoulders is at your show, and it's just, it's cool, and so that part's obviously different. You get a turnover of like the hardcore scene or the metal scene. You see how that scene kind of changes, and it's definitely changed in the way of like what your definition of the style of music that you're playing. Like when we came out, hardcore wasn't really established. The established like genre of hardcore when we came out was you're kind of like your Judges and your Youth of Today's and Bolds and that type of Southern California or New York flavor of hardcore. New York, you had your kind of your faster, heavier shit, your agnostic fronts, and before we got the band together and we listened to that, like our type of hardcore in parentheses was The Accused and Crumbsuckers and shit like that, a COC and stuff. That was hardcore to us, you know what I mean? Because it wasn't quite metal, but it was punk.
Like,
you know what I mean? So that's
shit like that.
Yeah, that was our hardcore that we grew up listening to, of course. And then you got the generation of like the straight edge kind of movement that came in and kind of reshaped hardcore, from Minor Threats. And then you get into, like I was saying, like your Bolds and your Youth of Today's and all that stuff. So, and Confront from Cleveland. And that's kind of where we came into the picture with what we were doing. But we were also influenced by I'm kind of getting off of your question a little bit.
No, that's all good, man.
Tangent, but you know, when we came in, you know, we grew up listening to loving all that shit, but we were also influenced by like, you know, early earache stuff and all the punk rock stuff that we listened to, because we were just skater punks, you know, metalhead skate punk kids.
Right.
And the hardcore scene was still very new. You know what I mean? It wasn't as established, and it definitely didn't have a lot of metal flavor to it. It got heavy. You know what I mean? Cro-Mag's second record, I fucking love it. That was heavy. You know, Judge was heavy. Or, you know, the first Integrity record, that was heavy. That was starting to get like dabble in like almost like Slayer riffs, you know what I mean? Or basically ripping off Slayer riffs or whatever, you know what I mean?
Right.
So that was like, okay, you know, but so when we started, we're like, well, we like grindcore too. So let's fucking grind. Let's fucking thrash. Let's play stuff that's punk. So, you know, we didn't feel like we came up with that in that scene, our hardcore scene, but we were doing something a little different. Same with Integrity. They made it, you know, they took, you know, that hardcore aesthetic and then just kind of dressed it up with metal. And then that kind of, you know, and we kind of did the same thing, but we kind of gravitated more towards speed metal, you know, and more speed punk, you know, instead of like this kind of straightforward stuff.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but also, like speaking of that kind of influence, when I was living in Huntington Beach and somebody played me the first Earth Crisis 7-inch when it came out, I was like, who is this fucking band that thinks they're Slayer?
Yeah, it's coming back like Pantera or whatever.
I was a hardcore kid, and you know, this was the late 80s, early 90s, and I was all about, you know, Underdog and, you know,
sure, Uniform Choice and Underdog.
And then when I heard Earth Crisis, I think it was Tim Mann from Focus that played this for me, and I was like, I don't know who this band that thinks they're Slayer, but they need to stop. And then then it grew on me. I was like, okay, I get it.
Well, you know, it's like what a lot of bands did. I mean, when you're young and you start bands, like one good thing about music is like you don't really have to be talented. You know, like when we first started our band, we weren't exactly talented musicians. You know what I mean? You're just you're playing in a punk rock band, so you don't need to be a great musician to have fun and to be to be a good band.
No.
So a lot of bands, you could kind of hear it. It's, you know, I always tell people, I'm like, if we could have sounded like Slayer, if we had the talent, we would have, but we didn't. So you kind of like a lot of the early like hardcore bands that kind of transitioned into more metal stuff, you just kind of cherry pick the heavy parts, you know, the parts that are easy to play.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
The power chords and the fucking heavy chords. And that's kind of,
at some point you can be just like junt.
Well, and that, I mean, you know, fast forward 30 years later, it's almost come full circle. And then I guess we could kind of go back to your original point, how things have changed, I guess. You know, if you listen to a hardcore band now, as opposed to back then, there's very little left of what it used to sound like, that kind of youth crew type sound. There's bands still doing it, but now it's like, it's gotten so simplified that it's just straight up just heavy chords, you know, ones and zeros, you know what I mean? If you know what I mean. And it's
I miss those like circle pit, like,
there's not a lot of
the floor time, like and you know, like the pit's gonna go on, and then you just get that pit riffs that has that rhythm that's just nice. Instead of now, it's just straight up beat down.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of bands do that. I mean, but that's people like that, you know what I mean? You know, that's kind of where it's come full circle. So it's like the heavier you can make it, the better, you know, and that's not that hard to do when you're just playing chugga chugga. I mean, there's a million different variations of that, and that could get redundant, but you know, hey, whatever the kids like, they will get, you know.
And you're playing in, is it D or drop D? It's D standard.
No, I think we're a full step down. I think we're in D.
So in D, yeah. And there are some bands that, and you know, I'm not going to take that away from them, but they'll play in like F, F sharp.
Sure.
And I'm like, dude, you should all just be playing basses. Like I saw a Man as the Bastard at Gilman Street
Yeah.
in the early 90s, and it was 4 bass players and a noise guy and a vocalist. And I was like, this is the heaviest thing I have ever seen.
You know what? But I bet you they were all fucking tuned to straight E back then, and it was probably the heaviest thing you ever heard.
Oh, probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
I mean, what gets lost a lot of times, in my opinion, but I'm also an old dude. I think the riff. You know, where's the riff? I mean,
where's the riff? Yep.
I appreciate good breakdowns and like, wow, that's you could hear something nowadays like, wow, that's heavy, that's super heavy. But then the next riff is fucking super heavy too. It's like, okay, you know, there's not a lot of balance to stuff.
Right.
You know, it's just setting up the next heavy riff, and it's like, we kind of always feel that the song, the riff is the hook, not the breakdown. The breakdown is what you throw that in there for an extra little pizzazz. Like,
right. Yeah.
But I mean, hey, that's, times change, but you could see, how metal has just completely infiltrated. And I mean, for the most part, I like I said, I'm not, I don't know everything about everything because I'm old and I don't pay attention to a lot of shit. And I know there's a lot of the bands that are still have kind of like a punk vibe to them and shit, which is awesome. I love that shit. And, but I do see a lot of bands just trying to be as heavy as they possibly can. And that kind of gets redundant for me a little bit. But
honestly,
like
I wouldn't care.
They're not playing to appease a 52-year-old man.
No.
They're playing,
right.
You know what I mean? I'm not their target market, and that's okay. They're playing towards their peers and what these kids like, and that's fine with me. But we kind of do what we did when we were kids, and we're still doing the same thing, except we're a little bit better at it. We have better production,
Right.
So I've seen that change, because we go out and we'll play with bands, we'll play with younger bands on the bill, or hell, sometimes we're opening for bands that are, 20 years younger than us, but the kids, the younger kids love them. They're like, that's cool. We'll go out and do our thing and have it. Here's the stage. When we're done, it's yours, so that's changed a little bit. And I guess just from our standpoint as actual musicians playing, we've got our shit together, sort of, as far as like, back in the day, we'd go out and, I mean, I guess we still go out and party like fucking like we're 16 years old sometimes, but I don't party as much as I used to because, the way I approach what I do in the band, it's a lot of energy, you know what I mean? So I can't go out and just get fucking wrecked every night. I just won't make it. Won't
You're
make
only
it through a whole
51,
tour.
man. You're only 51.
I'm 52. So.
Oh, sorry. That's right. Recent birthday. Happy birthday.
Right. Yes, sir. Thank you. So yeah, so I mean,
52.
We're a little bit more pro about our stuff, and we kind of I think we're professionals. You know what I mean? As much as that is kind of a silly thing to say, but like, when we go out there and do our thing, we're fucking pros about it now. We know what we're doing. Everyone does their part in the band. So we go out there and we still have fun, and it's still got a good punk vibe to it because we still don't really give a fuck. But you know what I mean? We still got that in us. We still like fucking,
Just remember,
like it.
Lemmy did it until the end.
Yeah. So that's, so that's kind of our approach to it still. That hasn't changed too much, but we're just a little bit better and more more business-like, I guess you could say. We're pros.
Can I ask, I have another question from Mucus Cirrhosis.
Okay.
What was I think this is one of his questions. What was your most memorable show?
Fuck. Fuck. I don't know. Like, that's hard to say. There's been a lot of fucking good shows. I'll tell you this. I can say this. It probably wasn't a show that we thought was going to be a memorable show, because we played shows that there's a fuck ton of people there and they were great, but it's usually those shows where you get there and it's like, oh, this one's gonna fucking suck. There's nobody here. Yep. It's like this one's going to be shitty. Okay,
Right.
but since we do what we do, if there's 10 people there or fucking, a few hundred people, we play the same way we're going to play in front of anybody. We've always done that. We don't phone it in. We just play.
Sorry, I have to interrupt you. Is that a Van Halen tattoo on your wrist?
Yes, it is, sir.
I
Somewhere.
fucking respect that to no end.
I grew up on that shit. But
Sorry, go on.
Oh yeah, but it's those shows that you think are gonna fucking suck, and they turn out to be complete fucking bonkers. And then when you're done, you're like, never judge a show by its cover, because when
Right.
it's all said and done, you're like, that was fucking wild. We've played a lot like that. So it's hard to pick just one. I don't know. We played some Euro stuff that was just got completely out of hand. That was pretty fun. But yeah, 35 years is a long time to pick just one.
No,
But like I said, it's usually the ones that some fucking bedroom show that we played that we thought was going to just be like, oh geez, why are we fucking still doing this? This is dumb. And then it turns out to be a complete fucking epic maniac fucking show, and everyone has a fucking blast, and we're like, wow.
Yeah.
That was the best fucking show, even though there was fucking 40 people here, I've ever been at. It was just fucking insane. And we still kind of do that sometimes. We play shows that we didn't think, sometimes you show up and a show looks like it's just going to suck, and you go ahead and do it. And you're like, that was fucking really good, and sometimes you get paid. And that's cool too.
Sometimes. Yeah.
So that's nice.
Do you write? What's the writing process? Sorry, Mick, if I'm stepping on your toes.
No, I'll give you the brief. I'll give you the brief little. Basically, the writing process hasn't changed in fucking decades. Matt it starts with Matt. Matt writes all the songs pretty much, and then from that point, he passes it off to our drummer, whoever that is at the time. Over the years, it's changed a couple times, but he gets together with the drummer. They practice a few times, get some demo tapes together. And then I usually get a hold of some of those, and I start getting some vocal patterns and some shit together, kind of what I want to do. And then they go and record it in the studio. And then once they're done with that, then that comes back to me, and I start working on my parts, like for real. And then I go in and I kind of write, like say we have 10 songs, like I'll pick a couple and I'll work on those and get those written. I'll go in and record those. And then whatever my next recording session is, whether it's the next day or a couple days after that, I'll pick a couple more songs and I'll focus on those and write those. So I'm kind of writing them as I go.
So you go by like how the song feels, or do you have a backlog of riffs? Are you like
I don't. I mean, there's some stuff that I have written that like, oh, this would be good for that song. Sometimes I'll jot shit down that I'm thinking about, and I'll write a little bit.
You don't just have like notebooks full of shit.
No, I mean, I do, but I don't. I mean, these days it's hard for me to commit time to just sit down and write. And these days I don't really need to, because I have when it's time to write an album. Here's a funny little thing, just coming from a vocal standpoint or a lyricist standpoint, for me anyways. When you've kind of got to recharge your life, so you have something to write about.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Or it just becomes, I mean, if you listen to all our records, I mean, sure, it all kind of sounds the same vocally, but I mean, there's personal experiences that are behind everything, and they all mean something. So
definitely.
Sometimes, like, if you have to, once I start writing for an album, I get into writing mode. And once I'm in writing mode, I could just sit there and write and write and write and write. So I don't have any trouble with that. So I don't really write too much beforehand.
Which is why you end up screaming, I don't have time to die.
Yeah.
Dude, that
it's kind of funny because
you fucking sticks with me, dude.
Sometimes people are like, why are you so mad? I'm like, well, I'm mad because I'm in a band. And this is fucking crazy. They're like, well, why are you in a band? I'm like, because I'm mad.
Exactly.
That's not in a band. So I'm like, it's like a fucking snake eating its tail sometimes.
Yeah.
So, but when it's time to go into writing mode. And here's another strange thing too. It's like sometimes I really don't know what songs are about. I don't, I'm not writing about the same thing I did when I was 18 or 19 years old.
And we're all thankful you don't, because And
know,
you don't want to sing about the same things
well,
necessarily.
but in a way, sometimes you end up singing about the same shit. You still have heartbreak and loss and people dying.
And angst and
yeah, you still have that. But a lot of times when I write a song, I don't really know what it means. Like if I go write it and then I'm like, okay, fine, it's cool. And then maybe 2 years later, I'll go back and revisit those songs and I'll be like, dude, that makes perfect sense of what I was going through 2 years ago.
But
When I
now I
see it
have
from an
property
outside
tax.
view, I could read it. I'm like, oh, I know exactly what I was talking about because
Right.
that's what was going on 2 years ago. And I think about how my life was, and I'm like, that's what I was talking about. And it makes perfect sense. But when I wrote it, I don't write it with the purpose. That's sometimes I do. Sometimes it's just it seems very vague to me. But almost every time I could go back and look at it and I could be like, that makes total sense because this was going on and that was going on. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only, vocalist that that has happened to, because, I mean, you're still writing about the same shit, but your perspective's a little different. You're still singing about love and loss and hate and, in the world you see today, you're still, but you're looking at it from a 52-year-old's eyes instead of, an 18, 19, 20, 30, 40-year-old, 45-year-old's eyes.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all I got to say about that.
So let's talk coffee.
Yeah, okay.
For a second.
That's what this podcast is partially.
That's right. Partially
right?
about
half coffee. This part, I've been practicing my coffee because I'm not a coffee guy, but I am now. I'm a coffee guy now. Yeah.
And it's because of the other guy on the podcast tonight, right?
Is because, yes.
I know he's a tea guy.
I'm a tea guy.
Okay. Yeah.
We work this out.
I will say this. I was not a coffee guy because I never drank coffee. Really. I mean, only in emergencies if we're whatever, but I never drank coffee because whatever. I just didn't, And since we've had our collaboration here, I'm like, well, you know what? I might as well drink coffee because we got a coffee. You
drank
so
it.
So since then, I've been a regular coffee drinker for the past whatever it is, 2 months or a month and a half or whatever.
You couldn't have told me this. I didn't know.
I tell my girlfriend, I'm like, I'm a coffee guy now. What do you think? She's like, okay, I'm proud of you. I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I'm a coffee dude now. So yeah, I drink it every day now, almost every day.
Nice.
Yeah,
dude.
So let's talk about
I didn't know that you were actually drinking coffee now.
Like I said, I'm a coffee guy now. I'm a coffee drinker now.
I like hearing this.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's good.
It is.
I'm hoping it's making it more regular or however it's affecting you. But
well, I went from drinking like right now, I'm drinking like a fucking gallon of this shit.
And dude.
It's either that or it's like, I'm a fucking freak. I'll drink like a giant Red Bull and then a fucking Monster. And then I'll do like 2 5-hour energy drinks. Like I'm a fucking freak like that because I never sleep. So I'm like, I should just switch to coffee because it's much healthier for me.
Oh my God. Yes.
So I've been doing that.
So we should bring up, since we're talking about all this, we should bring up the fact that Oak and Crow is partnered with Ringworm, and you guys are doing some coffee and some tea.
Yes, we are.
And what's the name of the coffee?
Well, the one coffee we did. Well, let's. When Jacob hit me up about doing it, I was very intrigued about it. Because hell, I grew up with Kiss, so I'm like, let's market some stuff. Let's fucking do some cool shit. Why not? And but I did, like I said, I did know a lot about coffee. I didn't know what's good. I didn't know what's bad. I don't know anything about it. And
wait, is Kiss into marketing?
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. So yeah, I was like, okay, let's fucking do it. And then me and him talked a bunch, and he filled my ears with a bunch of like coffee, a little bit of coffee info and how things, how the things works, and it sounded great. So me being the kind of a marketing guy I am, like, well, why do one coffee when we could do two? I want like a strong one and a normal one, so the first one we did one called the White Witch.
Nice. Yep.
and that one is very good. I drink that one. And then we did another one called Snake Church, and that one's very good as well. And then once we had those two kind of locked in and we decided what we were going to do, since I am a tea guy, I'm like, I didn't know that Oak and Crow did tea as well. And when I found out that, I'm like, oh, well, tea I know about, because I, screaming and yelling for fucking ever and ever. I drink tea like it's going out of style, especially when we're on the road. So we did a tea as well, and that's called Screaming Demon. Oddly enough.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the tea is good from Oak and Crow, because I've had some as well, and it's
yeah.
good.
I mean, there was a lot to there's lots of different types that Oak and Crow does, and but I kind of chose the chamomile one because that's one of my go-tos. So I know that one better than a lot of the others. So now I'm kind of happy because now I'm on the road. I don't have to I could bring my own signature tea out with me, and I don't have to
Nice.
use whatever's in the hotel room, like the Lipton tea, I
Right.
could excuse me, let me use my own brand here. But yeah, so I'm excited about that.
No, it's killer.
Yeah,
I was like,
it's been fun, man. I'm excited with that there could be more possibilities down the road and do more cool shit.
yeah, I love the names of the different things too, the different coffees and the teas. So it's wicked. It's awesome.
The morning elixir.
Yes.
Yes. And bang over cure. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh
Awesome.
man, your labels for the coffee and tea.
Oh, that too.
And just the graphics, they're
marketing,
some of my favorites. I'm
that's what we
sorry
talked
to everybody else, but these are some of my favorites.
Well,
Yeah.
When we started talking about doing it, I looked at some of the other ones. They're all very cool, but I kind of wanted to look like more of a coffee instead of a band doing a coffee.
Right.
And just because it should kind of stand on its own merits a little bit. You know what I mean? I don't want people buying it. I mean, I want people buying it no matter what reason, but
right.
But it's good. And, I wanted to do something that looked like you'd see it on your shelf in the stores, So, and now that I'm a coffee guy, I'm more in tune with there is a lot of, there's a lot of coffee brands out there. I'm sure, it's a thing, so I wanted to stand out from some of those, and
Definitely.
It's a really good coffee. I don't know. I give it to my friends that are longtime coffee drinkers and they love it. So
I appreciate that.
Yeah. That's all you, buddy. I don't do nothing. I just drew the pictures and try to hustle it, but it's very good.
Yeah, we'll definitely put links for all that up too, so people can grab it, because it's delicious. I love
think
it.
so, right? I'm sure you're a coffee dude, right?
Oh yeah. So
how many cups of coffee do you drink a day?
You don't want to know.
Well, no, I do want to know, because I want to know if I'm doing it wrong.
I do 2 before I go to work, and then while I'm at work, we're pretty nuts when it comes to coffee at work.
Do you fill up like a giant thermos, or do you do
no?
just cup?
I've got a just a metal thermos kind of mug that I have, and that gets filled up at least 3 times a day, 3 or 4 times.
Okay, so I don't feel so bad, because I'm replacing all my fucking crazy energy drinks with coffee for the most part, and I'm drinking like I said, I don't sleep too much. I never did, no matter what. I mean, I have so much shit going on. I sleep maybe 4 hours a day. It's probably going to kill me, but there's too much stuff to get done. But
we're all going to take a big nap at the end when we all sleep. And we're all going to be like, fuck yeah, this is it. So yeah.
Right. But yeah, I'm kind of there with you. I'm drinking at least a couple cups before I go to work.
Nice. Yeah.
And then when I get home, once I sit down in front of my office to get to work, when I get home from work, I'll usually have maybe 2, maybe 3.
Yeah, so, I like drinking coffee at night too. Most people freak out about that, but it's like I don't know what is it. It actually calms me down.
It's like
more
Ritalin.
Than it just it's nice.
Yeah, I'm getting used to it. I like it. And it's nice and warm, and
exactly.
And I don't put anything in it, Some people like put cream and
Ooh.
sugar. I just drink it straight.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like, what's the point? Sometimes people put so much shit in it. It's like, why don't you just drink hot chocolate then, man? I don't know.
Let me
like I said, I don't know much, but
let me send you a bunch of coffee.
What's that?
I'll send you some coffee aside from the tea.
Yeah, fucking A.
Nice. So, let me ask you this: what are you listening to right now, or what's caught your interest where you feel like other people need to know? Like, what are you listening to that's like, this stuff rocks, I want other people to know about it?
Well, fuck that. I mean, that's it's kind of funny that you say that, because it's like when Jacob mentioned my Van Halen tattoo, I get often people like, so do you like this new band? And I'm just like, I don't know, do they sound like Van Halen? They're like, no. I'm like, well, then I probably don't like them. That's where I'm at in life right now. I'm like,
right,
reverted to the same shit I listened to when I was 14, 15.
yeah.
But I'll catch some new shit when it's actually, I listen to are you familiar with the band Zombie?
Yeah.
Yeah, they just put out, I don't know if it's new or they're just ready to drop something new. They just either way, I listened to a couple, like 2 or 3 new songs on their Bandcamp. I'm a big fan of that band. I've seen them a couple times. I fucking love that shit. I probably because it's very movie soundtrack sounding, by design. And I'm a fucking big fan of that. I listen to, because I work so much, I listen to a lot of shit that's a lot more, I don't want to say ambient, but stuff that's not too heavy. You know what I mean? I listen to shit that I could like work to and, and shit like that. So, honestly, I listen to a lot of movie soundtracks, a lot of Italian Gallo horror soundtracks, Goblin, shit like that,
Right.
So I get new stuff when it comes to me. I don't pursue it because there's just so much fucking shit out there.
Oh yeah.
That I'm sure there's tons of shit that I would love. And oftentimes people are like, dude, you got to hear this. You got to hear this. I'm like, yeah, I don't get too excited about it, but I probably would love it if I heard it. But it's like, I figure if I'm going to hear it, it'll come to me naturally.
Get to you.
Somehow I'll hear it. And I'm like, oh, that's fucking great. I should have listened to this a long time ago. But so I'm not the best on what's new,
Right.
But because there's so much music that like there's shit from like the 70s and 80s that I haven't ever heard that I'm still catching up on,
Right.
That's a lot of like fucking kind of death rock and early goth rock and shit. I grew up on some of that shit. So it's like there's a whole new scene, like a resurgence of that too. You know what I mean? Like that kind of, like, all these newer bands like Boy Harsher and all this stuff like that, and Drab Majesty and all this, the newer bands, but there's a whole underground of new bands sounding like 80s bands. You know what I mean?
Right.
So there's, what I mean? That's like that in every scene. There's like that retro resurgence, even in like the hardcore scene, there's bands that are coming out that want to sound like this or that, bands from 20 years ago, So, there's a lot to catch up on as far as everything. So I wish I could give you a good answer on what bands, but I just kind of take them as I get them, because there's just so much that I have to sit and listen to music all goddamn day long, which I would love to do, but I don't.
Right. No, that's good, because we normally ask a question like, what's your guilty pleasure when it comes to music? And it kind of gets old asking that question because everybody says, I don't have a guilty pleasure. And so we're like, all right. Right. See? Yeah. But so now I'm asking the question, like, what are you listening to? What do you like? What do you, and everybody, it's so cool to hear, guys that you would think, oh, they're going to answer all this, this or that. And then you say, oh, no, Van Halen. Do they sound like Van Halen? No, then I don't listen to them. So, and that's and it's awesome because you hear what people's influence, that all has an influence on you one way or the other.
Sure.
And opens the door like, hey, quit being a fucking pigeonhole in a sticking to one thing. Listen to what you like,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know some people still that only will listen to like metal, and that's fine. And whatever floats your boat, I don't care. But I listen to almost almost every genre. I mean, I find something that I like in almost every. I
Yeah.
can't
I
listen
thought you
to
were gonna
ska
say
too
you
much.
almost only listen to Judas Priest for a second.
Wow. I love Judas Priest, so
Hey, listen, since I started working in a music store, we listen to a lot of Judas Priest, Iron Maiden. It's actually kind of nice. It's flipping back to like the,
yeah,
childhood for me. It's like nice.
yeah, you can't
Yo,
beat
did
that
did
shit.
you see that Judas Priest released so the album they just did is what is it, 50 years from their first album?
That
think
sounds
so,
about
yeah.
right.
Good Lord. God bless them. That's
Yeah.
Right.
amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. And I don't know if I think they only have one original guitarist. Is it KK Downing or is the other one
Glenn
Glenn
Tipton.
Tipton? But oh my God. Anyway, sorry, I interrupted everything.
No, no, no.
No, you're fine,
Good.
man. It's your show. You call the shots.
So I know you guys are getting ready to go on tour.
Yes, we
What is
are. A little one, a short one for now.
Yeah. Which, by the way, Jacob, they're coming to New York next month.
Wait, where in New York?
Oh well, you'll have to check our website, sir. I don't know. Actually, I got
It's Albany. I checked. It's Albany.
yeah.
I'm old like
Albany.
you, so I don't check. And it's that's like 4 hours. Okay.
How far are
Okay.
you from Philly?
I don't know, 4
Is it-
hours.
Oh, you're
I'm
stuck
in the
middle.
woods.
You
I
suck.
live in the woods.
You're like a geological oddity, 4 hours from everywhere.
Dude, no, well, I live out in the woods and it
I know.
sucks, but it's awesome.
I know. I hear you. Now we're playing New Kensington, PA. That's a pretty rad venue. Preserving Underground. We played there a couple times already. It's fucking sweet. They started pretty modestly. They got a fucking pretty killer record store in there, and then it's like they got a bigger venue, which is like kind of looks like it's a church kind of, and that's fucking awesome. And then they got another venue downstairs, which is rad too. So we're playing there, and then we play this fucking insane fucking show in Philly with Eat the Turnbuckle and Anti-Scene and Fang.
Anti-Scene and Fang?
Yeah, dude. Like Fang.
I've never heard
Fang.
of Eat the Turnbuckle, but Anti-Scene
Eat the
and
Turnbuckle
Fang,
is the guys from like Bad Luck 13. And it's
God.
yeah, dude. And check this out. It's like we're playing before them because you can't play after this band because
because they're gonna shut the venue down.
Well, it's also WrestleMania weekend in Philly. And there's gonna be all these like kind of legacy wrestlers there hanging out, doing all this crazy shit, and then like they're doing like a blood match type set, which I'm sure it'd be like broken light bulbs and fucking chairs and fucking barbed wire, so it's gonna be a bloody fucking mess. And then Anti-Scene is fucking out of hand too, and Fang, I've never seen Fang. I've been listening since I was a kid,
right?
So that one's gonna be fucking crazy. And then we play Maine, I think. Bangor, Maine. That one's gonna be. We haven't been there in fucking forever. I don't think if we've ever been there. Then we play Providence at Alchemy. That'll be fucking rad. Last time we played there, it was
who you playing with in Providence, if you remember at all?
Ooh, well, let me pull this little flyer up. I got some stuff.
Like I don't know a lot about Providence bands or shows, but Bob, what's his name?
Bob.
I can't remember the name. They're a power violence band from that place from the beginning, from the 80s. Oh, now I feel like a dick. They're a vegan power violence band. I quit this podcast.
Midair. Last one.
Oh my God.
Wait, hold on. I was making flyers for these fucking shows today. So let's see. We're playing. Who are we playing with? In Bangor, Maine, we're playing with On the Outside, Holy Filth, and Forked Tongue. That's in Maine. And then in let's see. You guys got a second? I'll run through.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And then in the last show, this little run we're doing is at in Albany, which we just played there not too long ago, and that was fucking kick ass. We're playing with this band called Tentacles, Hate the Adversary, Sister Fister. So I don't know, but and then Psychomantium. So Mike Valenti always puts together a great show in Albany, so I trust that he's putting bands on that fucking bring it. He always does. And then let's see what else we got. What are we doing here? Where am I going? Oh yeah, here's the one. Let's see what that is.
I was thinking of Drop Dead. I don't know
Drop
why
Dead.
I
Are they
couldn't
from
remember.
Providence?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know
yeah.
why I couldn't think of that, and I feel like such an asshole.
They just play here in Cleveland. They did some big punk fest, like all over, like a few different venues. They did this like little Rust Belt punk fest thing here, and they played here. We played with them before a long time ago. In Providence, we're playing with Hate Still Burns, Rabid, and a band called Search Warrant. I think that covers it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I freaking looked up Eat the Turnbuckle, dude.
Oh, yeah, dude. It's fucking chaotic. It's fucking crazy. I guess this is their last go around with that. So they got a DVD that came out or is coming out. They're a bunch of fucking maniacs, dude. I love them. Like Jason, one of the singers, he tattoos as well. And he's just a fucking, like, talk about bands that, like, you know, that literally bring it when they play, you know,
right?
And none of us like that have been doing something are spring chickens, you know, and to bring it every night like that, I mean, you beat the fucking shit out of yourself, and they literally beat the shit out of each other. Like,
wow,
you're probably looking at some fucking crazy shit, right?
Well, I'm looking at the titles of their songs, and they're all songs like What You Gonna Do, Running Wild, Fans Bring Weapons, Beasts from the East, Ladders, Tables, Chips.
Yeah, and those are directions.
That's
those are
awesome.
Instructions. Those are instructions, not lyrics. You know what I mean? Yeah, that one's gonna be fucking crazy. I can't wait to see that one. So yeah, I'm kind of glad like Jason asked us to be on it. We're like, sweet, yeah, we'll do that. And then we kind of built the other shows around that one because Philly's a long drive to play one show. We're like, well, if we're gonna go out and do that, let's do some more. So we put a few shows around it, and then when we get back from that, that's only like 5 days. And then like maybe a couple weeks later, we go out with Incantation. So we're
nice.
And that'll be good. Cause that kind of, for years we've kind of, we play with hardcore bands, you know what I mean? And for us, I think we're just as much thrash metal than we are hardcore these days. You know what I mean? If not more. So a lot of times when we play with, newer hardcore bands that are kind of just beatdown bands, people there just wait for the beatdown part. They stare, when you're playing good thrash riffs or circle pit mosh riffs, they kind of stand there and look at you and they wait for the dun 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 dun, and then they're like, oh, okay, time to spring into action,
right.
And then which is whatever the fuck you want to do, it's fine. But I find that when we go out with more like metal bands and death metal bands and shit, we do really well there too, because they enjoy pretty much all the parts of our songs. You know what I mean? They'll headbang and they'll mosh and they'll fucking stage. You know what I mean? So it's like we get off on that quite a bit because I'm not a big fan of like. I'm sorry, what?
Can I ask?
Ask.
So, from the beginning of Ringworm to now, as far as like hits go,
they're all hits.
I played bass for a band, like I filled in for this band from North Carolina for a minute, and all their pit, quote unquote, like pit moments were at the ends of the songs. Like they gave everybody 30 seconds to beat the shit out of each other.
Right.
But from the beginning of when Ringworm got together to now, how are the pits, and is there anything memorable and any memorable bands that you played with?
Well, I guess as far as our songs go and how the pits are, I mean, it really depends on on the bill. You know what I mean? We have, our songs are kind of like, there's songs that are just straight up thrash songs. There's songs that we just grind, we blast beat on them. So it's
Sure.
like, if like for instance, we just did a tour with Cro-Mags, and it's a great tour. We had a lot of fun. The shows were good, but for that, that was an eclectic crowd that showed up. You had a lot of old school hardcore. I mean, like old school hardcore people showing up. They're like, I knew Harley back in the 70s. They got no teeth and they're old as shit, but they still got
Sure.
mohawks and shit. It's fucking awesome.
Do you
And
adjust your set for that?
what's that?
Do you
Yeah, we do.
adjust your set for that?
Yeah, we
Okay.
do. We do that for a lot. Like,
Because he was with the limit. No, what was the band he was playing drums for?
oh God, I couldn't.
Right. So that
Yeah.
crowd. Anyway.
Well, yeah, you
so-
get a lot of old school like hardcore people, and then but we brought our kind of fans that were kind of like, we've got older fans that like enjoy like the earlier part of our catalog, which is still thrashy but a little more hardcore oriented, and then we
Sure.
got fans that of the newer stuff, which is way more thrashy and more straight up metal. So we get people that are moshing, we get people that are headbanging, and occasionally when we do bust into like because we got some beat down riffs, we got some beat down parts. So we get, we get those. We get the kind of the beat down stuff, but I don't pretend. I mean, we've been on tours with bands that are just like brutal, like their fucking beat downs are just fucking legendary. And I've seen stuff from the stage when we're playing beatdown stuff that I'm like, that goes above and beyond dancing. That's like assault. You know what I mean? Like for real.
Yeah.
Like I've seen
Right.
people that like that's a fucking punishable fucking by law assault.
No, dude.
It's not just dancing. And then people are like, well, then
I
shouldn't be there. I'm like, well, someone's just standing at the bar watching the show, and someone just flies back and puts their fucking fist in that dude's fucking face.
Right.
On purpose. You're like, dude.
I'm not going to I'm not gonna say where and when or what cruise, but I was playing shows with a band that was nice enough to let me play bass for them.
Yeah.
And we were playing at the Palladium in Worcester.
Yeah.
And dude, the watching people like crowd killing, and I was like, I'm not down with this. I don't.
Yeah, people love it and whatever, but it's like
I fucking hate it. And they
I'm
warned
not
me.
into
So I was playing with Undying from North Carolina. I was playing bass with them for like 2 months.
okay.
And dude, I just watching people beat the shit out of each other. Like I love playing something that generates like the momentum,
Yeah.
but I don't want people to hurt each other. Like,
yeah, I mean, I'm
get
kind of
it.
there with you. I mean, I'm not
Like,
I'm not a fan of that.
I love the energy, but dude, just
Well,
come on.
a lot of the problems that we run into, I don't want to say problems because everyone likes to enjoy, and our music, it's angry music for angry people. It doesn't make you want to fucking
Right.
play hopscotch, but
Nope.
we also will play songs, and we have, like I said, we have people that kind of came up on us on the latter end of our career that want to come up and headbang. So they come up in front of the stage and they're headbanging, they're trying to they're moshing around having a good time. And then you
Sure.
get someone from a different era that enjoys different stuff.
And they
then
punch
start
him in the
doing
back
spin
of the
kicks,
head.
and they kick some poor like 17-year-old thrasher kid in the back of the head. And he's like, what the fuck, man? I'm just trying to have a good time.
Yeah.
And then what you end up with is like nobody up front and that imaginary circle.
Yeah.
Oh,
back
the
on stage, and
horseshoe,
you're
as
playing to
Jamie
nobody, and you're
Justice
like, come on up
says.
front. And they're like, well, I would, but there's this giant fucking dude there that is going to fucking activate my dental plan.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
it's not for me to decide what they do, but if you ask me what I like to see, I like to see people packed up, stage diving, pushing around, banging their fucking heads.
Right.
It's okay if it gets a little fucking rough. That's the name of the game. But there is, even people that are like, that are so into it, they're like, well, then you shouldn't be there. If you probably ask them, they've probably seen some shit like, well, that's a little out of hand. It does get
Right.
fucking way out of hand when people are just mashing people. It's like, all right, but it just kind of, it ruins the vibe for more people than I think it gets them into it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you just want everybody packed up to the front.
Yeah, it's like, it's fun that way, but that's kind of how I came up,
Same,
moshing
yeah.
around and getting packed in there and fucking,
Yeah.
if you catch a fist in the face, that's how it was, but it wasn't done on purpose. It wasn't someone
Right.
like knowing you're just standing there to their left and they just fucking run right back into you and throw that fucking elbow back because they know you're right there. They know where you're at. They
Yeah.
put
Oh,
one right
yeah.
in your fucking gums, and you're like, "What the fuck, dude?" Just trying
Yep.
to watch a band. And what happens too is more people are watching the pit than the band because they have to keep
Right.
an eye on
Right.
these
Yeah.
random fucking roundhouse and fists coming through, and they can't really pay attention to the music. So, but hey, that's not for me to dictate what they do.
No,
'Cause it
you're
is
the
angry
person
music,
providing the music.
but
And you can't you can't dictate what the crowd is. And the thing is, like, the first couple of times that, I played with a band that had like people spin kicking and the our breakdowns were the last couple 30 seconds of the song, and I was like, I don't understand why this is, and I was like, oh, I get it. I fucking get it now, Jimmy. Like when I was with Undying, I was like, I get what you're doing now. So the last 30 seconds of the breakdown, and that's when everybody just started.
yeah. We,
And
we've
it
played
makes
some
sense.
shows. We've played some shows where the pits were so fucking crazy that like I would turn around and look at the guys in the band like, and I would just mouth like, "Holy fuck!" I'm like, "Are you guys seeing this?" And they're like Matt's looking at playing guitar, looking at me like, like going, "Holy fucking shit!" Like these people are fucking killing each other, and they're all having a good time. Okay, that's cool. But I'm like, sometimes I'm shocked to see some shit. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, are you guys looking at this? I'm like, is our music making these people fucking break their fucking noses and shit? I'm like, okay. But then you
Did
get
you
those people that come up to you and they're like, dude, that was the best show I've ever seen. And their fucking face is bleeding and
right?
they got a tooth knocked out and they're like, I love it. You're like, okay. Fucking, you're
Right.
like, all right, dude. Fucking rock on, man. But,
Yeah, that's
know,
that's a thing. Like, you're providing that for them, and you know what? They might not be doing that somewhere else.
sure. We've played back in the day. Fucking A, man. We've played some shows like in Salt Lake City, where back in the day,
Oh,
yeah, you say, ooh, because everybody, Salt Lake City has a rep.
yeah.
And we've seen some stuff there, like when, we played there quite often years ago. We haven't been out the West Coast in a long time, in like a few years, which kind of sucks because COVID kind of,
Fucked
derailed a lot of
everything
shit
up.
for a lot of bands.
Yeah.
But we'll be out there this year. But there's been some shows out there that like are just fucking way fucking crazy. You're like, should we stop
Those
playing?
kids
Sometimes you
are
don't want to stop
angry.
playing, but sometimes you're like, should we stop? Or do we keep playing there? Because the whole crowd, it's like everyone's fighting, like for real. It's not even
Right.
dancing anymore. Everyone's just fighting. And there's fucking weapons. Or like, do we keep playing? Like, I don't know. It's like fucking
Yes.
craziness. So we played some fucking wild ones there, and
I also with the same band, I was the new bass player for that band. It was maybe 15 days into me playing with Undying, and we were going to Salt Lake City, New Year's
yeah.
Eve. And they're like, so we should warn you. This place is a little aggro, and the last time we were here was terrible, and there was construction in the nearby buildings, and people were bringing in panes of glass, smashing
Yep.
them on the floor,
Yep.
and stabbing. And I was like,
yeah, man, that works out.
yeah, I was so fucking nervous because I didn't. I got the. Do you remember Good Life Records?
Sure.
So I ended up being in this band because of Good Life Records. I emailed them and then they called me on the phone. And then I ended up playing. They're like, all right, well, you were gonna play with Reprisal, so we trust you're okay. And yeah, I took a bus down to North Carolina and just joined the band. And then
Wow.
they took me and it was
Did
a
you
mess.
even know the guys?
Nope, not even a little bit. We met
Wow.
when I got off the bus.
No shit.
When I went to the bus station, there was a stereotype of a black shoe shine guy, and he looks at me. He's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Can you watch my gear? I gotta piss." He's like, "Look, if the people you're meeting here call you cracker," he's like, "you get back on the bus and you get out of here."
You were not wanted there.
No, but they were Undying were the most awesome people, and they
That's cool.
loved watching me look at all the rebel flags while we went to the apartment. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you were down there, right?
Yeah.
That was the times. You know, I remember just a quick fucking little note on that one, like Salt Lake City. I think the last time we played there with Guar and Hatebreed, so that was a little bit more pedestrian show and a bigger venue. But we played a headliner there, and we're coming out to the first song. You know, we're ringing out. People are starting to do jumping jacks and get ready. You know, and the first note of the fucking guitar, someone just turns around and punches this chick right in the face. Like,
oh,
the first note.
Jesus.
Very first note, we're just like ringing out, everyone's getting all fucking hyped and shit. We're like, oh yeah, here we go. First note, some dude just is like popped this chick in the face and busted her nose, and that's when it all just fucking. We're like, okay, here we go, and then it just got fucking wild after that, and then but that's when that type of shit gets out of hand. There was like a fucking shooting like the next day there was a shooting, and music is music, and it shouldn't be, it shouldn't be
shitty.
it shouldn't be like, some
Right.
people take it to the extreme that it's
Yeah.
like with a lot of hardcore crews and shit. Hey, do your thing, you know what I mean? But it's just music sometimes, and like the other stuff it infiltrates music, you know what I mean? Like when it becomes more about your politics or your affiliations, when people are just trying to fucking listen to music,
No, you're just trying to give people that, like, you're just as a vocalist, you're just trying to share your shit. And, as musicians, everybody is just trying to like give their like, whatever. And there's no way that you can think like, oh, this dude's gonna punch a woman in the face.
Well, there had to have been something more to
Right.
that. Not just the
was
music,
was it in your lyrics?
I didn't even say anything.
Of course not. Yeah.
It was the power of the riff. I don't know, but I'm sure there was something other than I think the music was an excuse to punch this chick in the face.
Yeah, it's just shitty.
Who
Like,
knows? But
I don't
yeah,
think
it was
we
pretty
talked
fucking
about it.
wild. I do love that town though. We always have great shows there, but they're always, historically they've been fucking off the chain, which is cool. But and even back in the day, they had such a rep for being like a really hardline straight edge town. You're like, if you're not straight edge, don't bother coming through here. And we never, but we never had any issues. We always had awesome shows there, and people just didn't care that we weren't straight edge for some reason.
It was illegal at some point for them
Salt
to
Lake
order
City
any
was
straight edge stuff.
Yeah, I think Salt Lake City is a weird petri dish of like old traditions and young kids being like indoctrinated or being suppressed. You can't do this, you can't do that.
Right.
So I think they kind of overcorrected it in a way as far as how they, do some things. You know what I mean? When you're kind of suppressed your whole life by kind of like, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, religious doctrine or tyranny, because that church kind of almost, blankets that city, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think, years of, you can't do this, you can't do that. I think over time, kids are going to lash out in a lot stronger way. You know what I mean? They're going to overcorrect, and become a super violent scene because maybe they're so pent up with fucking all these goddamn rules that they're going to be like, well, fuck you. We're fucking crazy, violent motherfuckers because you try live growing up here, type of shit. So I saw that, and I kind of get that in a reason, but hey, that's how things go. I don't know what to say about that, but I've seen some crazy shit there, and I love that town. Hopefully, we can make it back there because we've never really, besides like riots and fucking hyper violence, we've always had good shows there. It's been awesome, and I got a lot of good fucking, I got some fucking friends there that fucking I was like, you got to come back, man. It's gonna be awesome. So hopefully we'll
Maybe
make it
just
back out there.
sneak in with X Ringworm X. No, I'm
Yeah, maybe.
kidding.
Right?
I'm kidding.
Well, hey, that's oh wow. I started to yawn. What in the world?
Need some coffee.
Yeah, I need to drink some coffee. But hey, when we always wrap things up with a good question. We always ask you
Bring it on.
what you got coming up, like as far as like promotion wise. I know
Well,
you're getting ready to do the tour and all that, but
yeah.
Wait a minute. We have another question.
I already asked that question. You went pee or something.
Well, okay. Well, let me I'll give you the Cliff's notes. We went over it before, but like April 3rd through the 7th, we're doing a few shows on the East Coast. So we're looking forward to that. So that's coming up. And then shortly after that, we do about a 9 to 10 day run with Incantation, which is going to be fucking awesome. Really looking forward to that because we've been boys with Incantation for a very long time. And it's really fun for us to go out and play in front of that type of, kind of, death metal crowd, because they don't know, a lot of those people don't know, they may have heard that we were just a hardcore band, they're like, I don't like that, but then when we play, they're like, oh, I see. You're not that type of hardcore band. You're kind of like a fucking thrash metal band. We're like, yeah, so that's going to be fucking awesome. After that, we're trying to make plans right now to get back out west. So we're trying to piece that together for the fall. And then, yeah. And, we're still trying to get back to Europe too. I mean, we're trying to do as much as we can when the opportunities come to us, because there's a lot of bands out there, you know what I mean? So it's, going out and touring is not as easy as it was, because there's such an overpopulation of bands, good bands, there's a lot of good bands that are out there working. So you've got to work twice as hard and struggle a little bit to try to scrap your way onto tours and put tours together, because it's not really easy, because we're not by any stretch a fucking huge band. You know what I mean? It's
right.
We're awesome, but there's lots of awesome bands out there, but trying to get out there as much as we can. So we're going to do that. And then we actually have another record already written. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, shit,
nice.
really?
It's already getting demoed right now. Matt is a fucking writing machine.
Yes.
So, yeah, he hit me up the other day. He's like, yeah, the new records, I got all the songs done, and our drummer already knows most of them. I'm like, fuck. So we're trying. So, like I said, the new record, Seeing Through Fire, just came out on Nuclear Blast a few months ago. And it got some very good reviews. We're really happy with the way it came out. And so we'll see who's going to put out the next one. What's that?
I said it's awesome.
It is awesome. I'll agree with you there. It is pretty good. We're fucking happy with it. So, and then we'll see what happens with the next one. Maybe it'll be on Nuclear Blast. Maybe it won't. We don't know. We're just going to keep doing what we do. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's no reason to change what isn't broken. So yeah, I mean, we got that. We got a coffee. We're gonna push that coffee. We'll probably take some on tour with us and shit. Sell like Girl Scout cookies and shit.
Yep.
Also,
what can I put you down for? 4 bags? All right. So
right.
So yeah,
we've got a tea as well.
Yeah, and we still do. We do a lot of merch too. I mean, we got our own little merch store that we're just fucking keep hustling stuff, and then yeah, man, we're working.
Awesome. Yeah, we will definitely put links up for all that.
Yeah,
and that way people can check it out and grab the new record, and then also grab some merch and grab the coffee and the tea. and push it like crazy. So
yeah.
yeah.
And you know what? I guess since we got some airwaves, I want to thank with the last tour we did with we were out after the Chromax tour, just to try to make this quick, but we went out with Venom Inc. after that. And that was Venom Inc. And we went out with a band from the 80s called Satan. And that's another tour that like was a super eclectic crowd. And it was a fucking awesome tour. It was fucking great. But on that tour, our van died.
Oh,
yeah, our old trusty van fucking finally took a shit. And we did a GoFundMe. We're not really, I don't really like those, but
right.
it is you know, we did one. My girlfriend, she's like, I made you one. You guys got to do it now. I'm like, oh, yeah. But, you know, I want to thank everybody that fucking donated to that.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we were able to raise $10,000, which is fucking incredible. And because of that, we're able to keep on the road because we're able to buy a new van, all this shit. And that shit's hard these days. You know what I mean? And that meant a fucking shit ton to us that people still gave a fuck. And we're able to donate $5, $10, $20. Some people even gave a lot of money.
Wow.
So yeah, since I got a little airwaves, I want to thank everybody that was able to fucking donate to that, because of that, you'll be able to still see us play, you know?
That's fucking awesome.
It's super awesome. It's super awesome. It's real humbling too. It's like, you don't like, you know, I'm an old school dude. I don't like to go out and beg for money and be like, we can't afford, we're grown-ups, but we can't afford to do this. You know what I mean? But,
right.
You know, I guess, you know, and we gave back, we tried to give little incentives and t-shirts, and we recorded a couple cover songs that we sent to people that donated. We did like a Misfits song and a Kiss song that we recorded a long time ago and we didn't do nothing with. So we sent them links to download some songs and tried to give some incentives as much as we could. So, but yeah, we fucking appreciate the fuck out of that, because, you know, like I said, without everybody's help, we wouldn't be fucking able to keep going out, at least not for a while. You know, vans aren't cheap, and neither is touring. In general, neither is touring. It's fucking expensive, and unless you're doing 10 grand a night in merch, which we do not. I'd like to say we do, but we do not. So it's like it's still work, man. We're still we're blue collar, man. We go out and put out like a cheap fucking date, you know. So yeah, man. We hope people appreciate that and what we do. It's, you know, so yeah, I wanted to throw that in there too.
Well, dude, it was really cool to have you on the show, man.
I appreciate it.
So awesome.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you guys asked me to do it. I like doing these things, man, especially like, you know, when you just get off tangent sometimes and you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's the best.
Yeah,
thank you
start
so
talking
much.
about weird shit that fucking people like, what are these fucking guys talking about?
Oh, the weird shit is the best shit.
Right.
It is. Stay weird, motherfuckers.
And we even had our little 350-year-olds complaining about people punching people in the face. It was all total.
Yeah, we had that too.
Total get off our lawn.
I didn't even get into like fucking some of my real old man fucking tirades.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But that's okay. There's time. There's plenty of time for that.
Oh yeah. But yeah, man, thank you so much. And like I said, we'll push the new stuff out like crazy in the tour and all that. So yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, like I said, fucking the new record, Seeing Through Fire. It's on Nuclear Blast. Everyone should pick it up. It's one of the best records ever made.
Nice. Yeah.
You know, it's one of our, I think it's one of our, you know, I've got my favorites, you know, of ours, and this is definitely, you know, you got your favorite kids, you know what I mean? And this kid is one of my favorites because it's fucking meat and potatoes, man. Matt keeps writing songs and I'm like, they're always so goddamn fast. I'm like, holy shit, dude. He wrote this record and usually we have a real slow banger on it. And he goes, there's no banger on this one. It's just fucking fast. I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude. You trying to fucking kill me, man? He's like, whatever. Fucking do it, old man. I'm like, fuck. So I had to up my game. So, but anywho, yeah, man. I don't want to keep you guys any longer, but I appreciate it. It's fun talking with you fucking gents.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
really,
man.
Right on. Awesome. Thanks, man. And Jacob, I'll be talking to you soon. We'll fucking talk some business, talk some coffee.
Yeah, man. I'm glad I got you and you're drinking it. So
Yeah, man. Like I said, I'm a coffee drinker now, dude. I'm a convert.
nice.
So it took me I'm 52 and I start drinking coffee now.
Gotcha.
You know?
Nice.
Yeah, I'm hooked. So, all right, guys. Well, I got a boogie, but
Yeah, man.
Yeah, dudes. I'll talk to you soon.
All
Maybe
right,
I
thank you
see
so
Big
much.
Dick, and maybe I'll
Yep.
maybe I'll see you at a show. Maybe.
God damn it, yes.
This is the Hardcore Encyclopedia, and I'm here to let you know the band Space just dropped this killer album, This Is All We Ever Get. This thing's a masterpiece. They got together with Revelation Records to bring these fine tunes to our ears. So let's listen to it now. Mr. Mick, why don't we drop Big Picture? Let's put it right here.
Now we return you to our regular scheduled program in progress.
there it was. Episode 666 of the podcast. It was a fun one. We had a good conversation with James.
Good job, guys. I'm proud of you.
Of Ringworm. It was good.
The human furnace.
That was awesome.
It was so cool. And I refrained from telling I talked a little bit about bad experiences in Cleveland hardcore shows. I didn't talk about the worst one I ever had, which I have shared on this episode before. The infamous,
pretty rough.
On this episode or this podcast?
Well, on this podcast, the infamous Cleveland Hardcore Fest in 1996, where a certain band was kicked off of Victory Records for what they did. We won't bring it up again. And I didn't say anything. I am now, but I didn't then.
I would like to hear that that conversation off record, because I shared I had a conversation with him off record that was also around the same time, and it was brutal.
It could have been the same type of conversation. I don't know. Anyway, there you go.
Love it, guys.
Yeah. Hey, we have some good episodes coming up in the future. Excited about that. And hey, if you want, you could possibly share this podcast with your friends, your families, your aunts, your uncles, your moms, your pops, your third cousins from your sister's side, whatever. Share it. And
those are the best cousins.
Yes, and help us out by leaving us some positive responses and all the places that you could possibly listen to the podcast, which if you go to the links, anytime we share a link, it's normally our link tree, and there's like 1,001 places you can listen to the podcast because we are freaking everywhere now. We're even on freaking Amazon. How about that? How about them apples? Getting that
Eat
good,
it, Jeff Bezos.
We're getting that good Bezos money. Actually, we're getting nothing, but still, we're on there. We're on iHeartRadio. Like, we've completely sold out. We're on iHeartRadio.
We're getting the Oak and Crow money, baby.
We're getting that Oak and Crow money. That's why we're able to spread this virus that we call.
Wait, we're on iHeartRadio.
Yeah. The crazy thing is Amazon actually asked us. They sent me an email and said, we would like you to be a part of our Audible app to where your podcast can be heard by millions of customers. And of course, I was like, is it free? And they said, followed the link. And yes, it was. So I signed us up for that, got us in there. And it was shortly after that we got an email from iHeartRadio. Hey, we would like to put your podcast as a part of our blah, blah, blah. And so, yeah, now we're part of iHeart. People are reaching out to us.
It must be because we put up a post saying Jacob's officially on the podcast. That's all that I can.
That's it.
That's all I can figure.
Are you done?
We've got the Hardcore Encyclopedia. We got the
Steven Scopa.
We got the Coffee Master.
I miss Steven.
I did too. We gotta have him on.
Where is he today?
I don't know.
Wherever he lives, but he's in Boston, Mass.
The Devils just scored again, making it 6-2. There you go, Mark Sylvester. That one's for you.
Wait, is the Devils actually winning because they've lost like 12 in a row or something like that?
The Devils are actually winning. The Red Wings just lost 7 in a row. Way to go, boys. And then the Bruins just won in overtime, which they never win in overtime.
Wow.
So go Bruins. Yeah. Break that cycle. Love it.
There you go.
So we really got to get Steven back up on here.
Yeah.
Soon. Next one.
Yeah. You need to get him on the next one. He's got to drop some more.
We'll do a sexy 6 picks by Steven Scopa, the Hardcore Encyclopedia.
Yeah. Because the last 6 he picked was pretty darn sexy.
They were brutal.
Yeah,
that was a good 6 pick.
Yeah. So,
and then we'll actually have to get Jacob on to talk about a coffee he actually enjoys for once.
Yo, so
yes.
I gotta tell you, so I thought I was doing a coffee for this episode, and
you were supposed to, but this one went a little longer than expected.
Yeah.
So
This is like, we should call this
I'm
Bustin'
so
Jacob's
mad.
balls.
Yo, I'm so mad. So I
Tell
I
us.
got a coffee from a friend of mine who I bought my coffee roaster from. This guy is an old friend of mine, and
Did he get ringworm with you and Brian Gray?
I bought this coffee. I was like, yo, I need your coffee by this day. He's like, I'll send it, and I'll send it quick. And
You should have thought about that before you talked for 2
Shut
hours.
your mouth
with the
for a
human
second.
burning.
Shut your mouth for a second. And then it didn't get here. So when I left the co-op today, I bought another coffee, and I was like, I'm just going to use this. And I got home, and I brewed it up, and I took a bunch of notes. And
Okay.
I was like,
Well, you can
All right,
save them for next time.
Let me ask you this. Hold on real quick. Let me ask you this. Did you like the coffee?
let me finish.
Oh, God.
It's taken way
Let me
too long. See, we
finish.
know it didn't like it, so we can't do it.
No. I bought this coffee. I'm just mad because I
Oh my
bought this
God.
coffee, and then right after I brewed it and I took notes, UPS dropped off the coffee that I ordered this episode, and I'm so mad. And I texted Gabe, and I was like, dude, I'll get you next episode. I was like, I'm sorry, but I already did this, and now we're not even doing either one. So I had to drink a coffee that I didn't want to drink.
Listen, let me ask you this question real quick. Did you like the coffee that you went out and bought and did notes on already?
I did. Do you want that? I have a
Yes.
notebook.
Why don't you talk about it for a
'Cause
second?
I was
then?
told.
No, the
Tell us
second.
about it then.
7 seconds in heaven with
The second one.
All right, hold
Yeah,
on.
7 seconds in
Ready?
heaven with Jacob. Go.
Okay, so
That
This
was 7
time-
seconds in heaven with Jacob.
shut your whore mouth.
No, go ahead.
So this time, I got
We're out of here, everybody. We love you. Jacob's in rare form. We'll talk coffee next time, y'all. This was the Coffee and Hardcore Podcast. Drop that skull crack outro. Yeah, boy.
Gentlemen, it's that one moment
Worms.
that we all wait for. It's a new episode of the Coffee and Hardcore. Damn it!
Parkour Podcast. Woo!
Damn it!
hardcore.
All right, here we go
We'll put
again.
it at the end. That'll go
We'll
at the
put it
end.
at the
That'll
end.
go
We'll put it at the end.
That'll go at the end. It's been one of those nights.
It has. All right, here we go. All right. Damn it. All right,
now we're all slap happy.
for real. Here it is.
Goodbye, mwah, and good night, bang.